There's a bridge in the city of Porto, Portugal, that was designed by a student of Gustav Eiffel. It stretches across the Douro River in two tiers, one for trains, one for pedestrians. And when you walk across it, suspended high above the water, you are forced to trust something you did not build. You did not pour the iron. You did not calculate the load-bearing numbers. You did not sign off on the engineering drawings. And yet you walk. You put your full weight on the structure because someone who understood forces and physics and tensile strength did the work you could never have done yourself. And you trust that the bridge will hold. That image lives inside Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Solomon was not writing this verse as a pleasant sentiment to hang on a wall. He was writing it as a man who had been given more wisdom than any human being before him or after him, and who had discovered, through real experience, through the weight of a kingdom on his shoulders, through decisions that affected millions of lives, that even the greatest human understanding is a narrow window in a very large wall. He had looked through that window as far as a man can look, and he was telling you what he saw when he reached the edge of it. He saw God. Before we talk about what this verse is asking of us, we have to understand who is asking it. This is not a verse written by someone who had never thought deeply. This is not advice from someone who gave up on reasoning and decided faith was the easier path. Solomon asked God for wisdom, and God gave it to him so abundantly that kings and queens travel from the ends of the known world just to sit in a room with him and listen to him think. He built the temple. He managed trade routes. He composed 3,000 proverbs and more than 1,000 songs. He studied botany, zoology, architecture, jurisprudence, and mechanics of the human heart. And then he sat down and wrote, "Do not lean on your own understanding." The wisest man who ever lived chose, of his own will, after all that wisdom, to say that human understanding has a ceiling. And what you find at that ceiling is the beginning of God. Now think about the people in your life who are the most reluctant to fully trust God. Often, they are not the foolish ones. They are the capable ones, the analytical ones, the ones who have learned through years of hard experience that if they work hard enough, think carefully enough, plan thoroughly enough, they can navigate almost anything. These are not bad people. These are often the most admirable people you know. Disciplined, resourceful, resilient. But there is a particular danger that comes with competence, and it is this. The tools that have served you so well can quietly become the thing you trust instead of God who gave you the tools in the first place. Leaning is a word that Solomon chose deliberately, and we should not slide past it. When you lean on something, you are not merely acknowledging that it exists. You are not giving it a polite nod as you walk by. Leaning is a weight-bearing act. When you are weary and you lean against a wall, you're asking that wall to hold some of your burden. When you're standing on uncertain ground and you lean on a railing, you are trusting the railing to keep you upright. The question Solomon is asking is not whether you believe God is real. The question is what you actually put your weight on when the ground beneath you becomes uncertain. What do you lean on at 2 a.m. when the diagnosis has come back and the numbers are bad and your mind is running in 17 directions at once? What do you lean on when the relationship you built your life around is fracturing and you cannot see the way through? What do you lean on when you have done everything right and things are falling apart anyway? Because here is the honest truth about most of us who follow God. We lean on both. We pray, and then we run the backup calculations. We surrender the situation to God on Sunday, and by Tuesday we have quietly retrieved it and started engineering a solution of our own. We have developed what might be called a split trust architecture. One part of our heart genuinely believes that God is trustworthy and sovereign and good, and another part of our heart maintains a contingency plan, a private set of leverage points, a collection of options we have not actually released. We keep one hand open toward heaven and one hand gripped around the rope. And Solomon says, that is not what the word all means. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, not most of it, not the well-intentioned majority. All. There was a man in the ancient world who understood what this kind of complete trust costs. His name was Abraham, and God asked him to walk into a land he had never seen, leave behind the infrastructure of his entire life, and go without a map to a destination that had not yet been named. The text in Genesis says simply that Abraham went, as the Lord had told him. There is no record of Abraham pulling out a tablet and calculating the most efficient route. There is no record of him negotiating a fallback position. He put the full weight of his obedience on a word from God, and that word proved to hold. But notice this. Abraham did not have the destination first. He had only the instruction to move. The path became straight as he walked it, not before he started. That is the order of operations in Proverbs 3 verse 6. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Not, figure out the straight path first, and then submit. Submit first. Bring everything, every decision, every question, every crossroads, under the umbrella of his guidance, and then watch the path form. This requires a particular kind of courage, because our natural instinct is to need the full map before we agree to begin walking. We want to see the destination, understand the route, assess the risks, and confirm the outcome before we commit. God is asking for a different sequence. He is asking for trust that moves before the fog lifts. Now, some people hear this and they assume it means abandoning wisdom. They assume that leaning not on your own understanding means refusing to think, refusing to plan, refusing to use the mind God gave you. That is not what Solomon is saying. And it is important to be precise here, because a misreading of this verse leads to a kind of spiritual passivity that bears no resemblance to the biblical faith being described. Proverbs itself is a book of wisdom. It is full of practical instruction about how to think, how to speak, how to handle money, how to build relationships, how to lead well. The same book that says lean not on your own understanding also says plans fail for lack of counsel, and there is wisdom in many advisors. The Bible is not anti-thought. It is anti-idolatry of thought. The distinction is this. You are to use your mind fully, bring all your resources to bear, seek counsel, study the situation, do the honest work of discernment, and then, having done all that, place your full weight on God rather than on your own conclusions. The difference between wisdom and lean not on your own understanding is not about whether you think. It is about where you ultimately place your trust when your thinking reaches its limit. And every human mind, no matter how brilliant, reaches its limit. We see in part. We know in part. We calculate with incomplete information. We plan without knowing the future. God sees the whole thing. The beginning, the middle, the end, the hidden variables, the unintended consequences, the roads you never considered taking. When you place your full weight on your own analysis, you are trusting a partial picture. When you place your full weight on God, you are trusting the one who sees the entire canvas. There is a particular verse in Isaiah that echoes what Solomon is saying, and it frames a reason for trust in a way that is both humbling and deeply comforting. God says through Isaiah, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Notice that this is not a rebuke. It is not God saying, "You are foolish and your thinking is worthless." It is God saying, "There is a distance between my comprehension and yours that is not measured in inches, but in the distance between earth and sky. And that distance is not a threat. It is a promise. Because a God whose understanding exceeds yours by the distance between the earth and the heavens is a God worth trusting with the things your understanding cannot reach." Solomon's own life became a cautionary tale about what happens when you stop trusting this way. In his later years, the wisest man who ever lived drifted. Not through ignorance, but through precisely the kind of self-reliance that this proverb warns against. He began making alliances based on his own political calculations. He made decisions about women, about worship, about economics that seemed rational from a human vantage point and were catastrophic from a spiritual one. His wisdom, detached from submission to God, became the instrument of his own unraveling. The man who wrote "Do not lean on your own understanding" became, in a chapter of his own story, an example of what happens when you do exactly that. This is not a verdict on Solomon. It is a mercy in the text. His life is showing us what the proverb is trying to save us from. In all your ways submit to him. That word "all" is doing heavy lifting again. Not in your Sunday ways. Not in your obvious spiritual decisions. Not just when the problem is too big for you to solve alone, and you have exhausted every other option. In all your ways. In the ordinary Tuesday morning decisions. In the career move you have been praying about and planning for. In the relationship you are trying to figure out. in the financial choice that feels urgent and complicated, in the health decision, in the parenting question you lie awake thinking about, in the creative project, in the conversation you are dreading, in all of it, not some of it, not the clearly spiritual portions of it, all of your ways brought under the canopy of his guidance. And here is what he promises in return. He will make your paths straight. This is worth slowing down for, because the promise is not what we sometimes hope it will be. He does not promise smooth. He does not promise painless. He does not promise that straight means fast or comfortable or free of obstacles. In the biblical imagination, a straight path is a path that goes where it is supposed to go. It is a path with direction, a path with purpose, a path that is not wasted. In the ancient world, a straight road was a road that led to the city you were trying to reach. It was a road that did not wind endlessly into the wilderness. It was the road that got you there. When God promises to make your paths straight, he is promising that your life will have direction, that your steps will not be wasted, that the road you are walking is going somewhere. Somewhere he is prepared for you and has been working toward all along. There's a kind of person who trusts God this way, and they are recognizable not because their lives are easier than everyone else's, but because there's a quality of settledness in them that circumstances do not explain. They face the same uncertainties that everyone faces, the same diagnoses, the same economic pressures, the same relational difficulties, the same periods of confusion where the path ahead is not clear. But they carry it differently. There's a rootedness in them, a capacity to remain present and steady in the middle of what should be destabilizing, that comes from knowing that their weight is on something that does not shift. They have placed their full trust on the Lord, and they have discovered, through real experience, that he holds. Not that he makes everything easy, that he holds. This is what Solomon is offering you today. Not a formula for avoiding difficulty, not a technique for getting God to give you what you have planned. What he is offering is a different kind of relationship with uncertainty, one where the limits of your understanding are not a source of fear, but a reminder of where God begins. The bridge is holding. It was built by someone who knew what you weigh. Take the step.